Any sales model that creates any kind of revenue, if you're independent or you work for a company, there has to be a good deal of prospecting that goes on. And prospecting just comes from a word that means to find something of value. To find something of value. We get our picture of prospecting from the California gold rush, where these people were running out there. They had this vision, and they ran out there to California and left everything behind. They get out there, and they've got to start doing the work of finding what they were looking for is gold. So they would get a pan. They'd learn some exercises or some techniques of finding gold. They'd talk to other people who have found gold, gather a bunch of information, and try to emulate that. They'd jump into a really cold creek. I don't know if you've been in California in the creeks of those mountains, but the water's really cold. And then they would go, they spend all day prospecting. And they would sift through these pans. They were looking for gold, and they have to do a lot of work, but they're very focused. That's one thing I like about this picture is they're very focused on prospecting. They didn't do it all day, but they had some time that they were very focused on that activity. If they didn't find gold, they didn't spend much time there. They actually made some changes and some adjustments and moved downriver. Okay? If they found gold, they didn't stop the analytical part because they didn't know if they were looking at real gold, fool's gold, or real gold. So then they had to go through another process of qualifying to figure out what kind of gold do I have. And it was really only until that they found something of value that was their gold, it was real gold, it was qualified, that they took that gold and hid it, made sure that nobody else found it, and then they went and exchanged it, for cash at a gold exchange station or wherever they did with that. And there's a lot of things that we get from that particular model that we can apply to our business in the area of prospecting, because you're really just looking for your gold, isn't that right? You're looking for, if you're in real estate, a buyer that is qualified that chooses you as a realtor to buy a house. And then you're also looking for homes that people want to list with you, okay? And so you have to do a good level of prospecting. Now, smart prospecting is what I call this class, because if you are a prospector and you didn't know the difference between fool's gold and real gold, you could fill up a whole bag of fool's gold, run down there and find out, oh my gosh, I just spent a year, went through a winter, starved to death, did all this work, and I didn't get anything for this. Yeah, and we all experience that. So as you move forward in your prospecting activity, you want to move forward with a good level of smart prospecting. So you're spending less time, but you're getting better results. It's kind of like you can spend this much time calling a whole bunch of people and getting this much out of it. Or you can spend this much time calling a bunch of people, but you get this much out of it. The difference is the strategy that's happening between this group and the results that you're getting. Which, Terry, is you and I've talked about that you could have a conversation with somebody and then nothing happens, or you could have the same conversation, a different conversation with the same person, and all of a sudden the world opens up. The difference is the strategy that you're using, the dialogue that you're using. Okay? So I'm going to share with you just a couple of ideas in our time together about smart prospecting. The first one starts with, do you feel that prospecting is easy or hard? Becky, you said it's kind of hard. When it comes to prospecting, I don't like doing it. Okay? So you would kind of fall in the category of, I don't do it because it's hard. Some of us do it because it's easy. And really in the prospecting world, you could see it as easy or hard. The easy part of prospecting is those people who Alicia call you up and say, hey, I heard about you. I want to sell my house. Yeah, I can do that. I love that. Or somebody calls Terry up and say, hey, I heard about you and I want to do a loan. We call those organic traffic. That means it just came from somewhere. Call came to you, and when that call comes, we love that because the relationship's there. We feel like, okay, and that's a feeling. We feel like they're going to be open to us, and we can ask a lot of questions. The hard part of that is when you have to go out and call. You have to go out and initiate dialogue. You have to initiate a relationship. And if you get rejected, well, I don't like that, so forget it. And what happens is that you get these experiences built up that are part of our mental folder that sit back there. And as soon as you start looking at that phone, start looking at your call list, and you look at that phone, if you saw the video, you'd rather stick a pencil in your eye. That's less painful than getting on that phone, because we create this emotional memory database that says, you know what, I don't want to get rejected, I don't want to get told no, so I'm just going to go do something else and hope I get more of this. People who are really effective at prospecting, if they're doing smart prospecting, they don't look at prospecting as easy or hard, because it creates an emotion. Okay? And anytime you create emotion and put it through an emotional filter, what happens is that it actually is going to dumb you down. You're not going to want to do that because of these past experiences. You ever had that? People who are smart prospectors think of it as strategic and tactical. It's strategic and tactical. Marketing campaigns are just strategic and tactical. You know, you put a marketing campaign together, you send out a bunch of letters, you send them out, and I like chase the mail, so you send out 25 letters, you call on 25 letters. You have to have some kind of strategy. And when people are doing the hard part of prospecting that people think is hard, they don't think it's hard, they think this is my strategy. Okay, and I'm going to show you a strategy that's very effective. All you do is you do the strategy and it generates the results. There's a tactical part of your strategy, and tactics, if remember we talk about goals, your goal is here. Your goal determines your strategy. It's like you had a goal to get more business or improve business. So you put these tools together. Those are your strategic tools. The tactical part of Becky, what you talked about on the books that you put together, is writing in those books. If you don't write in the books, the tactics aren't going to help the strategy. Okay? So actually doing that. The tactical part of prospecting is once you decide I'm going to make 5 contacts a day, the tactical part is when I talk to somebody, what am I saying? How am I saying it? What am I saying that's getting their interest towards me? And that's the area that I like to focus on, is tactically, what are you doing? I could tell you, you need to do, 50 calls a week. But that didn't help. You can do 50 calls, kind of like Terry, you and I talked about, a company you used to work for. They tell you to make how many calls?
28 a day.
28 calls a day. They didn't teach you how to make effective calls and what to say. They just said make 28 calls. That's not smart prospecting. Smart prospecting says make 28 calls and make it effective. And really, if you did that, you could make 10 calls a day and make it effective. 5 calls a day effective, with an effective strategy behind that, is going to generate more results than 28 calls a day. It's a waste of time. And then you end up with this constant rejection that creates this call reluctance. You don't want to call at all. Okay? So you got to remember that when you're prospecting, it's not easy or hard, it's just strategic and tactical. And if you have a strategic and tactical plan, if you're not getting the results you want, Lisa, change the tactics. This is where the problem is. Because remember, we talked about in our formula here that, C times F equals what? Revenue. C times F equals revenue. F is the number of, better F there, it's the number of activities, the frequency of things that you do. Competency is how well you do this. Okay, so if this isn't happening, it could be you're not doing enough of this, or you're doing enough of this, but there's something wrong here. Okay? So, because this number will show up, even if you wanted to increase this number to the next level, all you have to do is really dive into how am I spending my time in a day, and if I'm doing enough of this relative to the work that needs to get done, and how well do I do that. And when you come here, this is competency training. This is giving you ideas to improve this side of the prospecting model. Okay? Does that make sense?